I think I'm on the stream. I hope the audio is working. Okay, I've got a thumbs up from my in-person audience member, so I think it is. Um, Hi, everybody. Thanks, Matt, for inviting me, and thanks, ESS, for hosting. Really excited to be in this mix with everybody. Yep, I'm coming to you today from the home in Pittsburgh. So, all right, we'll just get started. At first, you would simply hear a voice. This voice, you would know, would have originated from far away, but it would not sound far away. The voice would sound nearby, immediate, as though you were not hearing the voice, but simply understanding it. The voice would differ from your own, but this difference would be a comfort, as though the voice were hung in the spaces your voice would have left, had you been speaking alongside this voice. But you would not be speaking. Only this voice, with its ordinary cadence. Though the voice would not be particularly musical, its unfolding would suggest music. The mode of disengaged attention it would solicit would be familiar to you as that state of grace you would occasionally be called into by certain musics. You would listen to the voice as though it were music, even as you would be aware, as the voice first reached you, that this sound was a speaking voice rather than a singing voice. Perhaps this is poetry, you would think in passing. But no, this is not poetry, but music, you would soon realize. And soon thereafter, this sense of division would recede as your attempts at categorization would become secondary to your experience of the voice's musicality. You would listen with incredible exactitude to the form of the words that would reach you, to the echo of phonemes over the meter of a sentence, to the changed weight of a word repeated in quick succession after another word of allied form. You would close your eyes or not, as you would see fit. You would see the words as shifting fields of color, or else you would see the orthographic form of the word's letters as slowly spinning shapes, or else you would see the words both as letter forms as well as color fields. Whatever visual form the words would take on would complement your experience of the word's music, which would be primary in your perception. What part of your attention you would give to the music of the words would be singular, yet you would not be without diversions. As you would listen, you would be beset with distraction, with transportive thoughts that would appear unheralded and unnoticed until well underway. You would be distracted as you would be in everyday thought. But as you would notice these wandering thoughts, you would be struck with their form, for they would be folded back rather than folded out. What seemed at first like unbidden intrusions would be revealed to be, on your coming to awareness of them, in fact, different dimensions of your deep attention to the music of the voice that would reach you still. You would feel distracted and even uneasy, but would not in fact be distracted. What would seem like distractions would be counterpoints to the voice that would sound and swirl still. What thoughts you would think as this voice would reach you would not in fact be, you would realize, your own thoughts, but secondary effects of the voice's music. You would understand your thinking, your attention, as an address at which the music would play out. In this way, you would feel yourself to be participating in the music. You would feel pleased at this, having planned only to attend a concert, but to instead find yourself party to this private form. This music, you would realize, cannot be shared with others, dependent as it is on the vicissitudes of your own absorption. Yet the music that even now would continue to reach you in the form of a simple voice clearly would not have originated in your own head. The voice that would carry the music would not be your own voice. And so, you would realize, the music would have to have once been shared, even if now, in its current state, the music could not be shared further. Each one of these logical steps that would build in your understanding would itself add to the felt effect of musicality. For one panicked moment you would feel trapped in this music, sensing no way to extricate your thoughts from the music they now merged with. But it would not be you who would be trapped in the music, but the music that would be trapped in you, as though your sensorium were a string resonating without decay, as though this string were ultimately wound in a loop and yet still held in tension. You would hear the words calmly pronounced by the voice, and would understand the meanings of these words that would pile up into sentences with their own meanings that you would in turn understand. But the words would not simply pile up. Each heap would continue to hum, each heap with its own distinct tone and color. Off certain surfaces, the light of your attention would shade into ecstasy as you would give yourself over to the music's geometry. You would not hallucinate, you would not hear things that were not already there, just this simple voice that would sound like music, and that would unsettle what distinctions you might have earlier made between your thoughts and your feelings. You would sense underneath the words, and underneath the words would be music. Whether something in this particular voice and these particular words would be what had primed your access to this previously unheeded dimension of language, or whether these words had simply been those that had arrived before you at this pivotal moment, you would not know. And whether your present experience would be singular or else would herald a new way of listening that you would henceforth be subject to, you would have no way of testing at present. The voice would seem to arrive before you, would seem to anticipate and provide a platform for the small actions you would undertake as you would listen to its music. You would adjust your tongue's position in your mouth. You would tense your throat in tiny pulses that would correspond to the arrival of new words. You would be freed from the compulsion to do anything at all, sensing now that whatever ticks you willed would already be guaranteed by the obscure script the voice would apparently be following. The music would allow all of this, generously, you would think, as you would give into its sway. The music would permit as well your disinvestment, would allow even for the possibility of your turning away from the music. The music would demand this, that you cease listening if your desire were such. The music of the voice, though, would not cease. Were you to shut off whatever device you had used to summon this voice, you would be forced to reckon with the possible persistence of the music of the voice beyond its present transmission. The voice would continue to reach you and set vibrating within you an ever-varying array of words and sentences in the form of speculative propositions. You would grasp with lucidity the relations of sounds to words to sentences set before you by the voice. In these relations, you would locate the music of the words, and having located it, you would be unable to shake it loose or to lose it, and the individual nodes in this network would recede in significance. You would hear each word that would reach you, but would weigh each not individually, but in relation to the web in which would be drawn all words and sentences and orders yet proffered by the voice. You would follow the lines between words, tracing with your inner ear each dip and convolution of each line's path. You would trace these lines, not in sequence, but all at once, such that you would not at one moment find yourself on one rise, and at another moment on one fall, but would at one moment, this moment now, locate yourself on all points on the line at once. You would think of mathematics, of the logician holding in her head the theorem in its entirety. But no, you would soon realize, this is not mathematics that I am faced with, but music. You would enjoy this music. You would enjoy the way the music would be built from a singular voice. You would reflect on your emotional experience, pausing to consider the genesis of a complex set of relations from a simple voice. You would be drawn by the music to an awareness of your body and its limits. You would feel as though this music were extending not the limits of your body, but the limits of your attention to these bodily limits. You would imagine all the places your body has been, all the places your body has expended itself, and would be struck with an image of this extension, would feel these limits as a corporeal aspect of your body, and this image would slowly turn and shiver in perfect timing with the rhythm of the words that would reach you still. Though the music would be distinct from other music that you would have heard, you would not doubt its being music. Neither would the music sound entirely novel. The music would remind you of your body, and as you would consider your body and its present situation of listening here to this music, you would be reminded of past moments in which you also listened to music. And in this way, the music would remind you of other music, not by its structural kinship with any other music, but by its relation with your body. You would notice your posture, your head cocked, your small fingers tensed, and your tongue hard on the roof of your mouth. This position, you would realize, being one only inhabited in moments when you would listen to music. And so you would know the music this way too, by inference, in addition to the intuition that would recognize this voice as music at the moment it first reached you. You would think of time passing, of the time elapsed since the beginning of this sentence, of the time elapsed since the transmission of this voice began, and of the time elapsed since previous moments in your life in which you had sat still with music. And you would know these thoughts to be effects of the music rather than thoughts of your own. And as you would revel in the memories evoked by the music, you would consider the architecture of memory, the thought scaffolding and thought conveyor belts that held and summoned memory, and you would entertain the notion that these memories, like the present thoughts that you recognized as products of the present music, were themselves also perhaps secondary effects of the music. This suggestion, that your memories belonged not to yourself but to the music, would comfort rather than alarm you. You would happily await what complex of memory, sensation, and thought the music would next give rise to. You would imagine a potion slowly turning by its own heat, each crack in the voice that would continue to reach you, a bubble lodged from the cauldron. You would not find a steady rhythm in this music, but neither would you find the music wanting of regularity. What rhythm you wanted, you would find in the periodic glances you would make back into your own awareness of the music's hold on you. You would feel content in the music, which is not to say without conflict. You would quietly nod at each diversion, each surge of disengagement, and would give yourself over these slides, knowing them all along to be complementary effects of the music. You would think about the music, but your thoughts would not be in the form of thoughts, but in the form of music. You would be pleased by your thoughts and would think more thoughts of music. You would hear your thoughts humming above the simple voice that you would never entirely let slip from your awareness. You would picture the separate tracks of the voice and your thoughts as parallel lines, or rather as parallel fields in constant motion, exceedingly close and yet not in contact. You would understand the wild dips and undulations of the two-layered fields to constitute music in which you would remain immersed. You would reconcile yourself to the fact that you would know where this music came from, but not how it came from where it did. You would be happy with the music and happy with your thoughts. You would be happy with the minute gap that would ride between your thoughts and the voice. You would be happy with the time that would pass and swirl. You would be happy with music in general, happy to participate, even in this involuntary way, in the elaboration of music. And as you would rest in whatever state you would find yourself in, you would find these two parallel planes of the voice and your thought to begin, at certain points in their folds, to touch, not to grow closer. The gap between the voice and the thought would remain fixed, but in some way, through, you would imagine, some faculty unique to music, what would be said by the voice that would continue to reach you, and what would be thought by the mind that would be reached, would begin to sound in unison. The music that would be produced out of this union would be simple, but you would like its simplicity. the music would sound less and less like music and more like a voice. You would know, however, that this voice was a form of music and not just a voice, though the voice would no longer sound like music, but just a voice. You would predict the next turns in the voice as though you were directing the voice, and yet as well the voice were directing you. You would feel the loop drawing tighter and would begin to anticipate the music that would follow the voice. You would sink yourself into the spaces the voice would leave between words, and you would be pleased to find a music within these spaces no less than in the voice itself. With this recognition, you would begin to test the limits of these spaces. And as you would do this, you would hear less and less of the voice until very soon after, the voice itself would entirely recede from your attention. Okay, thanks. That's all I have. I'm going to stop my stream now, and I think Matt's going to come back on the stream. Thanks again to Matt and all of the other artists tonight, as well as ESS, for hosting.